Motorcycles come in all styles, from custom specials to the out-and-out race replica. However, over the past few years there's been a growing interest in a very different style, that of the Supermoto or Supermotard. Supermoto Uncovered lifts the lid on this increasingly popular style. During this programme, we'll uncover what it's all about, whether you just want to ride something different on the street or race a full-blown machine on the track. With a growing number of dedicated websites and magazines, Supermoto is here, and it's here to stay. We'll be asking the experts for advice on how to convert an off-road dirt bike, as well as hearing from the top UK race guys and their tuners. Ride on board during a round of the National Series and experience firsthand what it's like riding with World Championship contender Leighton Haig on his full race KTM. Over the last decade, the roads have been dominated by race replicas, high-capacity sports bikes that produce the most amazing power. But in a world of speed cameras and rising insurance, some riders have been investing in a style of machine that still gets the adrenaline flowing, but hopefully doesn't cost you your licence: the Supermoto. But what is Supermoto and where did it come from? Supermotard, simply meaning superbiker, grew out of the American Championships started in the late 70s to determine the ultimate rider from all disciplines of motorcycle racing. Initially adopted by the French, it's been hugely popular on the continent over the last decade, both on the street and at the racetrack.
Supermoto seems to be off-road bikes, either motocross or enduro, that have been converted for road use. So they tend to have 17-inch wheels rather than a 21-inch on the front and an 18 on the back, which you get on a standard off-road bike. And they're fitted with, wider and stickier road-orientated tyres, basically.
Racing on a mixed surface area, combining tarmac, dirt and jumps, with the sole purpose of finding out who is actually the best motorcycle racing at that time.
I just assumed it was something that, was sort of specific to a Street Fighter style, totally unaware that, across the water in sort of mainland Europe, there was this whole championship that's been going on for 10 years.
I've got a CCM 640 Supermoto, and I looked at a number of bikes, before I chose it, and ended up going for a test ride on a number of them. And to be honest, there's not a lot between them. I think they all felt really good. They all felt light and powerful and a lot of fun. But for me personally, it was just the combination of things. The CCM seemed nice and smooth and sort of good fun to ride with good engine pickup, and that's what I ended up with. And it's been great. Had it just over a year now, and yeah, it's been fantastic. Great fun.
The airbox on these is pretty well sealed up because it's designed for off-road use, but I'm never going to take it off-road. So you can cut out the airbox, put a nice Can-Am filter in and let it breathe a bit better that way. Nice race exhaust on it.
I had a look around at the KTM series. I mean, obviously there was the Duke and the LC4, but they looked a little bit sort of road biased for my liking. I wanted something that was going to be raw and allowed me to do some work on it myself, and the Honda seemed to fit that profile.
XR650.
CCM R30M. So they put the 640 engine. It's the Chris Walker replica. Just different. They made 10 of them, and you can have lots of fun without going fast.
I started, reading the TBM magazines, predominantly trail bikes, but of course they started to run a little bit about Supermoto, and more articles seem to grow, and of course now they have their dedicated Supermoto magazine.
Trail Bike and Enduro magazine, TBM, has been running now for 7 years, and I've been involved from the very start. Now last year we had a bit of a crisis in the UK, as everyone knows, the foot and mouth. It decimated off-road sport in the UK. So last year particularly we were looking at other things to do concerning dirt bikes, and the obvious thing was Supermoto. Now we've been doing Supermoto almost from TBM started. We've been doing it through the years. We've been featuring. Last year we had Supermoto bikes almost in every feature, and it was proven very, very popular. The telephone was red hot, letters were coming in by the sacksful, everybody wanted more. So this got us thinking. Around about October time, Cy Melber, the editor of TBM, and myself decided to go for it. The first issue came out in January, and it's, as far as we know, it's the world's only Supermoto magazine. Quite why that is, I don't really know, but you know, the popularity of the sport in the UK is booming. You know, it's absolutely going through the roof. It's been popular in Europe for years, and it's just taking off. The idea, really, we've got behind Supermoto magazine is to put the sport onto, you know, make it more readily accessible, tell people how to get involved. You want to go racing, you want to do track days, you're just interested in something different, you know. This is an alternative, and it's out there, and it's accessible for everybody. You can ride to work one day and race the next. It's as simple as that.
I can use it on the road and I can go to work. I can annoy the security guards at work with it because it's dead loud, you see.
So you actually use this very bike for commuting as well as for racing on?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Well, to be honest, all it needs is a rear light on and that's it. With the you know, mudguard light, with a number plate.
Been riding road bikes for probably about 6 or 7 years, and just fancied something different apart from the sort of the normal fire blades and R1s, and so went for Supermoto.
Spectator-wise, it's very good. If you want to see some, handlebar bashing action, it's very good to watch.
A few years ago, there were only a handful of ready-built bikes catering for the Supermoto enthusiast. KTM had introduced the Duke and LC4 series, but if you wanted something different, you had to be prepared to get your hands dirty and build it yourself. There are a number of off-road bikes suitable for conversion with parts readily available, from pure motocross to trail bikes. Enduro models are a good base for street use, as they're already equipped with lights and are easily road registered. However, as the interest has grown, so has the number of manufacturers producing off-the-shelf supermotos. Husqvarna have developed the dedicated SMR series, which includes the beautiful carbon-clad Nox. But these manufacturers have now been joined by exotic names such as Vertemati, Husaberg, Kramit and Vor, to name just a few. It can only be a matter of time before the Japanese giants start to offer over-the-counter machines. More and more dealers recognise the potential of the Supermoto, and some even offer to undertake the conversion work for you. One manufacturer that has always realised the potential of the Supermoto is CCM. Based in Blackburn, CCM now produce a range of Supermoto bikes.
CCM is Britain's longest established motorcycle manufacturer. It changed hands just 4 years ago, and when it changed hands we had a world-beating motocross bike, but we could see that that was not the market that we wanted to aim for. So Supermoto was starting to become popular in the UK, and it was certainly very popular in Europe. So for the past 3 years we have made pure Supermoto bikes that are made for the road, not converted motocross bikes. We make a range of 4 bikes. We make the Dual Sport, we make a Supermoto and the R30 Roadster. Every bike is hand built and every frame is hand welded. When we started on the Supermoto adventure 3 years ago, we could see that it was an exciting bike to ride and it was something different. Since we started, you have rising insurance rates, you have big problems now, and people cannot afford to be speeding, losing the license, and people want to have a look at something else that is cool, it's trick, fun to do, without having to do 140 miles an hour, without risking your life and your license. And Supermoto is that it? That's what it is. That's where it's at. We started 4 years ago purely UK distribution. Now we are in Austria, Australia. We have bikes in the States, all over Europe. And that's where we're concentrating our efforts now. But we're at Three Sisters in Wigan today. This is our home track, so it's very useful for us to test the bikes out. We have 2 guys racing for us this year, Robert Simpson and Jared Frost. These guys are two very quick guys. They're racing for us in competitions this year.
One way to find out what a Supermoto is really like, or if you just fancy a great day out, is to book yourself on a track day. CCM run dedicated track days throughout the year at venues up and down the country. We went along to find out what it's like.
CCM set up our track days last year to get people onto Supermoto bikes. A track day involves turning up in the morning, £175 for a day's riding. You get the hire of the bike for that as well. 2 hours on the track, split into 6 20-minute sessions. We also have the hire of equipment if you need it, so that's goggles, gloves, boots, everything that you require for the day. Just come up, turn up and have a good time. You've got a lot of sports bike riders and people like that who see Supermotos, don't know whether it's right for them. So the idea is they can come down, have a go and see what they think.
Don't want to get rid of my Suzuki yet, but I certainly do want a Supermoto bike, yeah, definitely.
So I've always been a sports bike man, always been a road bike rider, but this is good. I think this is the way forward. Yeah. I think it's enhanced my road skills, definitely. Just learning how to chuck a bike, it's really good.
Brilliant, really enjoyed myself. Well worth the money.
Oh, that was fantastic. It was, yeah, good fun, and it's good, like good safe fun. Hard work though. 15 minutes is. When we first got told this morning, it was like 6 times 15 minutes. I think everybody was thinking, "Oh, is that it?" But 15 minutes is hard work out there.
Supermoto, it's for me now.
And I've never ridden a track day before, and good organisation. Bikes are all right, good bikes, plenty more power than I expected. Good fun all round, and you know, everybody seems to have enjoyed it.
Okay, this is the first track day I've ever done. It's something I've thought about doing many times. I've been to watch before, but never actually participated. So getting on the machine today was fantastic to rip it up a bit and see what it's all about.
I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I can't remember when I last had so much fun.
FC Trot Motorcycles, based in Harrow, are recognised builders and suppliers of all things Supermoto. We asked Freddie Trott and his team for some advice on preparing an off-road bike.
We've been in business now for just over 6 years. We sell anything from C90s on up to Fireblades, a bit of everything really. We build them to people's orders basically. As far as accessories, we do quite a few bits for all the Supermoto bikes. Anything from bits that we bring in from Italy, master cylinders, calipers, brakes. We bring a lot of wheel sets in from Italy. We sell all the Talon products, exhaust. You name it, we can get it. If we don't have it, we can get it. We aim to help anybody, from a beginner to an expert. If you need any technical advice, give us a call. That's what we're here for. We all do racing. We all, play around with this and that, and hopefully we can lead you in the right direction. We run a couple of specially built Kramit two-stroke 250s that we bring in from Italy, but anything that's around really. I used to do a lot of motocross. I've done trial, I've done flat track, I've done a bit of it all, and Supermoto, you don't have to be with the clubs that are going right now, you don't have to be fast, you could just go out and thoroughly enjoy yourself. Supermoto racing, anybody can get into it. You don't have to be an expert, beginner, anything. It's a good social event. We have a really good time. We always camp out the night before, have a big barbecue, and race the next day.
Don't know nothing about Supermoto, man.
Today we're getting ready to build a KTM 520 EXC, which is an enduro, mainly an off-road enduro bike, which is road legal. But today we're going to be building one. We've got all the wheels, brakes, exhaust, so you'll find out step by step on how to get one started.
My name is Daryl. I'm part of Trot Racing, a loose collective of people that enjoy racing supermotos. This is a fairly stock KTM EXC 520, straight from the crate more or less. All we've done is take the indicators off, and now we're going to fit brakes, wheels and a few other go faster parts to make it suitable for racing.
Talon Engineering has been developing Supermoto products right from the start of Supermoto. what we manufacture here on the premises is the talon hub itself, and we then use stainless steel spokes with either Morad Spanish rim or Japanese XL rim. Talon is the sole importer for braking, which is an Italian disc, and they are well known for the wave design disc. The benefit of the wave disc is, of course, the unsprung weight is much less than normal discs. The gyroscopic effect of the discs, therefore spinning, is a lot less, and the cleaning of the pads is much better.
Changing the sprockets is a way to change the gearing. So depending on different racetracks, if you've got lots of long straights, you might want to raise the gearing. Taking off the stock caliper so that we can replace it with a heavy-duty Brembo. If you put a free-flowing exhaust on, something like an Arrow, you'll find that the engine will actually breathe better, i.e. you get more air coming through, which means you can produce more power. It's louder as well, but it weighs less. Oh, there you have it. One fully fitted, full Arrow system. Should be good for about maybe 2 or 3 horsepower at the top end. Saves some weight, makes a nice fruity noise. Good all round, really. So we're going to take this cover off and just run with an open air filter here. And what we can do is drill holes into this to allow as much air as possible to go into this air box. Now it can breathe a lot easier. 10 seconds. Put that to one side, keep it safe. Once you've got the new exhaust on, best thing to do is take it down to a dyno, get it jetted properly.
HM Racing, based in Orpington, are one of the country's leading tuning and suspension shops.
HM Racing, certainly as an engine development company, grew as an extension of preparing and building my own racing engines. In the early 90s we started working with Husqvarna and specifically Perry Leisk, who went on to win 6 British 4-stroke titles. Perry now works for HM Racing and runs the suspension side. One of the very interesting things with Supermoto is that it's attracting riders from different disciplines. So on one hand we've got people like Warren Steele, Leighton Haig and Perry who have a motocross background, but we've also got people like Dave Heel, who's a very accomplished road racer. The serious engine work, I would say, is still the majority of them are racers. But I guess there's an increasing number of guys that want them for track days and for road use. Yeah. Specifically here in the engine room, we've got Myra and Surdy valve seat cutting equipment. We have our Quadrant Scientific cam doctor, which allows us to not only measure cam profiles, but to analyse valve velocities, valve accelerations, look for potential failures in the valve train, calculate what sort of spring pressures we need to be running valve springs, plus all the other bits of equipment that you need to build engines, really.
So somebody comes in, they've bought a Husky 570, they've been riding it for a while and they decide they want a bit more from it, maybe do a few track days as well. Where would you kind of start them off in terms of the things they ought to be looking at and asking you to do?
Well, your first level of tune, as it were, really is evaluating and improving the exhaust system and carburation setup on the dyno. Now we're talking flow, really, both in flow through the exhaust system and flow into the airbox and the carburetor. So you need to improve that by a corresponding amount, and then the carburation needs to be dialed in. We run a dyno, rolling road dyno, with a 4-gas sun machine to analyse the exhaust gases, which allows us to set up the carburation for the optimum power. That liberates a reasonable amount of power and is cost effective. It's good value for money in what you return. Some of the more exotic systems don't actually work that well with a standard engine. I mean, all our race bikes run Akropovich systems, but the Akropovich system doesn't actually work very well on a standard engine.
we seem to get much better results through modifying the standard system.
Here at HM Racing we specialise in Öhlins servicing and upgrades. We also take on Japanese makes, Kayaba, Showa, WP suspension for all forms of motorcycle, road and sport. Obviously there's different setups for the different aspects of the sport. You've got quite fine variations from motocross to supermoto and to road racing. The supermoto is lending itself a little bit more towards the road race setups in the British supermoto scene because there's so much tarmac use and not so much off-road use. Modern supermoto bikes, they've got a lot of adjustment. Normally with the spring change and correct setup with the adjusters you can get it very near for most people on general street riding. So again for racing, if they're getting a motocross bike and using it for supermoto, it needs shortening, it needs revalving to cope with different sorts of riding. If we're setting up for just general street use, you want to keep quite a plush feel to the front end of the bike. You've got to take into account the type of fault that is running on the bike, whether it's going to dive too much under braking, and then revalve that to cope with the type of use it's getting. Warren Steele's bike's there, it's being prepped for the next round of the championship. It's now been fully checked through, the motor's been upgraded, serviced, the bike is being race prepped, ready for the race, all the linkages have been stripped, cleaned and greased, and just generally checked right round, ready to be raced again. Yeah, obviously I race in the Nora series as well, and we get a lot of interest at the circuit. Different riders coming up asking different questions. Steve and myself are there, to back up the service we provide at HM. We'll always go over and have a chat and sort out suspension setups, or if they've got motor problems. That's what we're there for. Well, my race bike is basically a 2000 model Husqvarna TC 610. It's been fully gold tuned here at HM. It's got a 100mm bore, head's all sorted. We run the Akropovich race system. I've shortened the travel front and rear. The bike's actually lowered 30mm. It's a little bit softer on the initial compression damping, front and rear, but a lot higher progression. With the brakes, I've uprated the front to a Behringer system with a Spiegler master cylinder. We've done a lot of different testing with brakes and found that to work very well on the bike. Rear brake is standard. That works fine. We barely use the rear brake on the tarmac. We also run GPR steering dampers on the bike. For tarmac use it seems to work very well. Yeah, the racing in Supermoto is getting stronger and stronger. From last season I couldn't believe how far the sport's come on in probably 6 months. There's so much depth there this year, and it's good to see it growing.
You're still keeping it as shiny as Mark kept it then?
As many supermotos are primarily built for racing, we went along to the national series run by Nora Sport to find out more about it.
NORA stands for National Off-Road Racing Association, which is a small private independent of other associations. We do actually do our own permit and we have our own insurance, and we do run motocross meetings, but our main aim at the moment is to do Supermoto, and it's a national series in that everyone and anybody is invited. We've got quite a few works teams now which are very welcomed, and we've had some good support actually from the KTM people.
I work for KTM, I work there 5 days a week as a mechanic. At the weekends I ride their bikes in Supermoto, Enduros and fast Eddie cross-country races. I've got a new factory bike, it's a 660 LC4. It's knocking out about 72 horsepower. The bike I won the championship on last year had 63 horsepower. It was a fair bit heavier, so I'm looking forward to having a better year this year, hopefully making it easy for myself.
So is there many other differences between a road going version of the LC4 and your one?
The bike that I rode last year, that started out life as a 620 Supercomp Supermoto, which we took the lights off. put number boards on, basically had a different exhaust system. And then halfway through the year, when I needed a bit more power, we put a rally engine in out of a Paris-Dakar bike. So yeah, I suppose I had a fair bit of help last year. My bike was a bit trick, but it was everything that we had on that bike you could buy from a KTM shop anyway. But the bike I'm riding this year, there's only 60 of those being built for about 13.5 grand. When I was 10, I had a trials bike, so I did trials for 8 years, and then when I was 17, 18, I got a road bike. My dad was a road racer, so I always wanted to go quick, but couldn't afford to do road racing, so I got an enduro bike, started doing enduros, and then from about 82 till last year I was focused on trying to win the British Enduro Championship, which I won in '98. I won the overall British Enduro Championship that year. I've also won 4 125 titles as well, so it's all off-road, my background is, but at the same time I've always had big super bikes on the road, R1s and Ducatis and Fireblades and things, so for me I've got a good feel for the tarmac and I've got a pretty good feel for the dirt as well.
My name's David Jeffries, riding for V-Moto, which is Vertimati, new dealership in Bradford I'm riding for, which is Power Sport Motorcycles. He's the importer, so it's good fun.
And these are pretty trick Italian motorcycles, aren't they?
They are, yeah. I mean, they come ready to race. They've got, they're all basically come like a proper road race bike. Nearly, they're all wire locked up, things like that. So they're proper trick bit of kit and very fast, very powerful, straight out the box. It's a ready to go race bike.
Yeah. Well, needless to say, you're best known for your TT wins.
Yeah.
I think you still hold the course record.
Yeah, outright lap record.
For getting around the island, the fastest man on a bike to do that.
Yeah.
How do you find the Supermotos in comparison to riding an R1 or
It's a totally different ball game. It's like chalk and cheese, but it's a good grounding for getting used to a bike sliding and moving about, and it's just another form of racing which gets you dialed in and makes you sort of race fit, race aggression and used to watching the lights, and because you can't really practice racing, so to come and do some lace on motocross, I mean, this is better for road racing because there's a lot more tarmac involved, but it's a good sport and it's a growing sport, definitely.
Come on! What's your background in terms of growing up with bikes?
I got my first bike when I was about 4.5, so I've been on bikes for, I'm now 29, it's like 25 years nearly on bikes, so just love bikes, anything to do with them, playing, motocross, trials. If I can get an excuse to go ride a bike, I will do.
I've been road racing for 18 years. I've been British 600 champion for V&M Honda and Superbike British champion in 2000 that was. All sorts really, Boldor 24-hour race, won that a couple of times. And yeah, I've been just professional road racing for 10 years, didn't get a deal for this year. Thought, well, I can't just sit at home on the couch, I've got to do something. So this Supermoto looks really exciting, so here we are.
You're riding this year?
Husqvarna 570 SMR. Steve Smith of HM Racing's done us a bit of deal and helped us out with some bits and tuned the engine and supplied us with all the suspension parts, and it's got Olin's shocker on it and everything you can do to it really that we've done to it. I sort of went out with the aim, right, let's build a bike where I've got no excuses. If I don't win, it's my fault. So it's still my fault at the moment because I've yet to win an A race, but we're getting there, we're getting close.
These bikes are ideally built for that sort of thing as well, aren't they?
Yes, perfect, yeah, they've got loads of grunt. You can fall off them and they mend in about 5 minutes if they're broken, and they don't, really break. It's cheap fun, brilliant.
For the last 3 years I've raced road bikes in the Benzie series. I started on 600s as a rookie, finished 5th. The following year I did Super Sport, finished 4th. Last year I did the Power Bike series, which I won by 150 points.
this year I was due to be racing a Ducati in a one-make series, but they cancelled it. So I bought an Aprilia RSV 1000 and I needed to race it on the Sunday, so I was running it in on the road on the Saturday, and the car pulled out in front of me and I wrote it off. Broke a finger and a toe. Other than that, I'm okay, but the bike was dead with my money. So a friend of mine, Dave Hill, said, come along, have a go at some Supermoto. So I invested in a bike and here I am.
What are you riding?
A Husqvarna 570, which was originally a motocross bike, which has had small wheels put on it and is all ready to go.
So you're enjoying the backsliding out on you?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. If I can carry on doing that and then do the same when I get back on a big road bike, then I'll be world champion.
Yeah, it certainly will be.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a bit about your background, where you come from race-wise and how you got into Supermoto.
Right, my own background is enduro. I used to be in the army and I used to ride enduro bikes within the army. I used to do British Championship rounds, bit of motocross, used to run as an expert, but unfortunately in '96 I had an accident whilst on coming off a large jump and fractured my right talus. Unfortunately that injury was pretty fatal in the fact that the ankle joints were fused and it left me with a club foot that wouldn't heal. I basically finished riding bikes for 3 years while I had that injury before deciding that I did actually want to go back racing again. I had to go racing with the injured ankle, had a few dabs and hurt quite a lot, so I decided to chop it off. So I had it amputated below the knee on the right leg. Had it off in the November, racing back again straight after Christmas. Finished 4th in the British Championship in my first year, which were 2000. Finished 9th last year, but suffered a few broken arms and ribs and stuff. And been crashing quite a lot this year, but I'm just happy to be on the bike and racing and being competitive, really.
Why did you choose Supermoto over any other, going back into enduros?
I only want to be involved in a sport where I can be up front. I can't run enduros really. Hare and hound stuff's okay, and I do quite a lot of hare and hounds, but British Championship enduro, paddling in ruts and stuff is a little bit too much to expect. The nature of the Supermoto itself, it's quite easy. You don't really have to be that fit, in all honesty. The 70% tarmac, 30% dirt just really suits. The bikes are nice and low. I don't have any modifications as such, and I don't really find it an issue at all, really. The bike is a Vertemati, which is an Italian bike. It's a full factory 570, which is provided by V-Moto Racing. There's 3 bikes running in the championship, myself, Mark Oxley and Dave Jeffries. And it's just a full blown out 570 gear driven cam, top of the range, off the shelf bike really, that you can just go out and buy should you wish to spend that much. It's 71 horsepower at crank, that will probably translate into about 64ish on the dyno. It handles well, it's 6-speed, it's torquey, it's responsive, you just tell it what to do and it just basically gets on it for you, really. It's the best bike I've ridden so far, and I've got absolutely no plans to change it at all.
Make a bit of a comeback because I was the '99 Nora Supermoto champion. Didn't do much in 2000. Did one or two meetings in 2001. So I'm going to have a comeback this year and see if I can regain the title.
Could you explain to us a bit about how the sort of the different groups work and how you move between the groups?
Now, what you basically got, you've got like 5 groups. You've got A, B, C, D, and E, and you've got 25 riders in each group. And what happens is they have like a demotion and promotion system, whereas the first 3 finishers of a race in, say, Group B will move up to Group A, and the last 3 in Group A will move down to Group B, same with like D and E and so on. So you could like start the day in Group B and keep winning and winning, and you could end up in the A's at the end of the day, sort of thing.
How do they decide the grid positions for that first heat that you're actually in?
For the first race, you draw a peg out of a bag, and that has your grid position on it, on the peg.
So, and then wherever you finish in the last race, that determines your grip position for the next race.
In terms of the equipment you're wearing, you seem to be wearing a mixture between sort of road race gear and off-road as well.
Yeah.
And just about under the mud, we can just about see that's probably a leather race suit there.
Yeah, it's pretty normal full one-piece race suit, leathers. And then you sort of, instead of like the road racing boots, you tend to wear more like a motocross boot, so you tend to sort of ride with like your feet out and around the corners and stuff, so you'll get a bit more protection with the big boot. And then instead of like the road race helmet, you wear like a motocross helmet with the goggles on and the peak and everything to try and stop some of the mud going in your face.
We caught up with top riders Warren Steele and Gerard Frost.
Started racing motocross when I was 12. Schoolboys, went through the schoolboy ranks, won various championships, went on to the adult racing, won various championships in that again. Then I had an injury, a broken left leg, which was quite a bad break, so they put me out of the sport really. And then I got into downhill mountain bike racing, a bit of jet skiing, playing about, and then along come the Supermoto. First got into Supermoto, I had a road bike and I got fed up of riding out on the road and whatnot, and I bought a Supermoto for fun. And then a friend of mine said, why don't you enter the Supermoto race up at T. Croix in Anglesey? And I wasn't too keen, my racing days were over pretty much, my motocross racing days. So we entered the meeting anyway, and I won the first race I've ever done in Supermoto, so I thought, right, I like this game, I think I'm going to have a go at this. And then it started from there really, and that was late 99, which was on a KTM. Well, it's based on a 570 SMR road going bike with a tuned engine by HM. HM Racing also do the suspension as well, Payleash and HM does a very good job. And Steve does the engine at HM. It's a good package, very good. Apparently they've nicknamed me One Wheel Steely, I believe. I don't know why.
Just asking about your background and kind of how you got into racing.
Well, I've always had bikes since I was about 14 years old, a couple of little field bikes as a fairly young kid, and then always had road bikes then. From 16 I 50 like everyone else does, and then got up and always had real big road bikes, big 1100s and things like that, and then got into road racing. I've road raced since 92, on and off for many years, done different levels of road racing, many different bikes. Always done a little bit of off-road just for fun with my mates on weekends and that, and then decided to pack in road racing. Had a couple of bad crashes last year and it got very expensive, and decided to do this and have some fun doing this. It's just good fun and get out every other weekend and have a laugh, and rather than spending loads of money. 640cc CCM, 4 CCM for factory, and just getting on with that, and it's going well. I run Whole Shot Racing. We're a motorcycle tuning company based in Leeds. We do mostly road bikes, not particularly supermoto bikes, although we do a few. We do work to my own and local lads that come in, but usually it's more road racing based things, 600s, 1000s, whatever. Particularly we do a lot of turbocharging of big bikes, turbo Diabusas, we do a lot of them. My own turbo bikes, and a lot of turbo kit car engines as well. So
you've had quite a bit of success with your big bike engines as well. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I hold British land speed record, outright speed record, and it's pretty fast.
So what was that clocked at?
Well, I've done 242 one way, but my actual record stands at 224 for an average for both directions. So,
what bike was that on?
Turbo Diabusa.
Okay, that's great. So it must feel a bit different getting onto something that's got 55, 60 brake horsepower.
Yeah, but it's two different things. You can't compare. The Diabusa, you can't compare it to anything. It's so fast. There's nothing like it. But This is it's 55 horsepower, whatever, like you say, for some bikes. I mean, my bike's over 60 horsepower, but when you're riding around on dirt, you don't want any more power. It's fast enough.
Watching a lot of the guys who are riding road bikes on the road, what would you say to them if they're kind of half thinking a Supermoto?
Well, a lot of lads I know local to me where my shop is, they're now, most of them have had big road bikes and probably got bored of that or hassle with running them, expensive to run, and a lot of them are now getting into this, whether they actually race it or just to ride on road, both things really.
Fancy riding a Supermoto on the road then, just as a bit of fun between you?
Yeah, I won't mind it. It's just a laugh getting out. It's probably more fun just having a bit of a play around local roads rather than going out on a big road bike and having a big accident.
We asked Gerard to give us an onboard view of Blyton's Supermoto course from the seat of his works CCM. Because Supermotos are light and powerful, they also make excellent stunt bikes. Leading the current national series is 24-year-old Leighton Haig. We met Leighton at Cabwell Park and later during preparation for his first World Championship round. I'm interested to ask the riders what their sort of backgrounds are, whether they come from road racing or from off-road. What's your particular background?
Well, motocross really. I did have a little dabble at speedway, but nothing really in a half season at road racing, but that wasn't too clever really, but motocross since I was about 10. I'm riding the Bracken KTM, it's 540 kitted bike.
usually come as a 520. I'm number 3 in the NORA Championship from last year, and just hoping to go 2 better this year, hopefully.
Do you ride Supermoto on the road at all, or are you purely racing?
No, I don't have a bike on the road. It's a bit scary, isn't it?
What first attracted you into the sport? You know, where did you hear of it from, and how did you get into
well,
it?
one of my mates, he was actually doing it, and I went to watch him, and I thought, yeah, this looks pretty cool. I just started doing a little bit of road racing just on the CV 500, and it just looked like a cheap alternative, and something that looked pretty good fun.
What do you think the future holds for guys like yourself that are doing well in the UK Championships, as it were?
Well, hopefully, I don't know where it's going to go, but the profile of the sport's definitely growing, isn't it? And you know, we'll just see how it goes.
If you want to know a bit more of how to get the technique right and that, Bracken actually do training schools, which I'm a part of. So if you can learn to back it in and go faster with the dirt with your little wheels and all the rest of it, hopefully. My ambitions as far as Supermoto go, I just want to win as many races as I can and get as near to the top as I can. A World Championship would be nice, but we'll see.
That just about wraps up our insight into the current UK Supermoto scene. During the next few years, we'll see more Supermotos on the road and increasing race coverage on the television as the sport attracts more sponsorship. In the meantime, a big thank you to everyone who contributed to the making of Supermoto Uncovered.